Might want to pee soon, dude. Don't want to pee in your chair.
I mean,
kind of have to though. Oh, fuck. Sorry, dude.
You're good, man.
It's happening, y'all.
Hey, I'll see you soon.
All right, send it.
All right, buddy. Good luck.
Holy shit. Holy shit, bro. Feel like a fish out of water.
Wow.
You crazy.
No. We are crazy. Let's see if we can get in this nice and smooth.
Sheesh.
Look at that.
Oh, man. Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he says.
Hey, everybody. My name is Marvin the Martian. I am a certified parachute rigger based on Skydive Elsinore, and this is the High Life.
All right, man. Well, welcome, and again,
thank you, brother.
Thank you so much for coming out here on such a short notice too. I remember I asked you, what was this, like 2 weeks ago, if you wanted to be on the podcast, and it just so happened that we had the perfect opportunity to double dip, where you could come for a nice slackline workshop, and we can also just chat. So how you feeling, man? Is this your first Highline?
Definitely my first Highline, out on a Highline. This is super out of my comfort zone, and it's crazy, man. Like it's the trust that I have right now, like on you, and the trust that you give yourself is just it's so hard to imagine, to comprehend when you're not out here doing this. This is like a fish out of water, man.
Fish out of water.
This is insane.
It's nice to be a fish out of water every now and then.
It sure is, man.
Yeah. So, real quick, I just want to let you know what we've got going on here. So I would say we're probably about 80 feet above the ground if you look straight down, and embrace it. Check it out. There's some nice muddy water down there for us to land in if something goes wrong. And we're in a good spot. We're both on this. We both have our leashes to keep us safe. We of course we got a nice big camera right back over there.
Yes, sir.
We have a nice camera up here. Give it a little wave. And that's pretty much it. So
yeah, man.
Before we start, I got a surprise for you.
Oh, man.
So here, I want you to hold board. That. Yeah, we got a cutting board here.
Right here.
Oh, it's down there. Gotta dig. All right, and one of the things I like to do on the High Life here is cook some, I wouldn't call this gourmet by any means, but I like to cook every now and then, and
yeah, man.
And I hope that this is still warm, and I want to share this with you. So
amazing.
Let's see what we got here. And before we move forward, actually, let's make sure we're staying hydrated. Get some water there.
Right.
And we can do one water bottle at a time.
Yeah.
Is
this yours by any chance?
That one's mine. Yep. Okay. Just to avoid dropping them. So
yeah, buddy.
We got 2 forks, little butter knife there, and that's about it for now. So before we do anything else, let's unpack what we got here. I'll let you do the honors.
Woo, goody. All right, man. This is amazing.
Well, I'll say that. Yeah, you haven't even tried it.
First for everything, man. I'm like, oh snap! I see something.
And here, I'll take the aluminum and.
All right. Yeah, man.
We'll put it in this trash can.
Oh man, this smells amazing.
Oh wow.
Woo. Oh yeah, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
So real quick, we've got some red chili enchiladas here.
Nice.
Topped with some caramelized onions and some cheddar cheese. This is my mom's recipe.
Oh, bro.
Made with California peppers. Super stoked to share this with you. Dude. Okay, so now let's do this. Grab that side of the aluminum.
Okay.
Let's get this out of here. onto here. Now we can put this glass back into our bag, and let's unfold this.
Oh snap!
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Lasagna here.
Enchilada lasagna. So I'll give you this fork.
Thank you, brother.
And enjoy. Yeah. Let's take a little bit of time to eat.
All right, brother.
First thoughts on this food.
Dude, thank you so much.
Still warm.
Oh yeah, baby.
And these are chicken enchiladas, just FYI.
Yeah.
I asked you, make sure you didn't have any vegan things or.
Thank you, man. I eat anything. I'm on both sides. It was definitely something in the bucket list that was never in the bucket list, bro.
Honestly,
amazing.
That's how I feel every time I'm out here. I'm like, I didn't even know this was on my bucket list, but you know, I did a podcast with my roommate the other week, and he called this the ghetto version of Dinner in the Sky, Las Vegas.
Oh man, this is.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think this is better.
Yeah, honestly, man. There's just a lot to get out on this. A lot of self-motivation, because without you, man, I wouldn't be doing this.
That's fair.
Like I see you guys do this, and man, it's insane. I'm impressed how comfortable you are here, and how and again, that's another reason why I'm putting so much trust, because you do this all the time, and man, you rake this thing almost by your whole self, man. So it's very impressive, and it's an honor, man, to be a part of this with you, of course.
And as always, you know, I literally couldn't have done this without you guys today. So huge thank you, honestly. This is great. So yeah, I mean, nice, you know, man. We're getting some nice food out here.
Oh yeah.
And we'll probably be out here a while, so it's a good thing we're nice and comfortable. We figured out the system. But you know, so you've never been on a Highline before, you said?
Never been on a Highline. I saw it once in Yosemite. My friend had set it up, or somebody else set it up. And man, I had only seen Highlines on Instagram. I only saw it through the phone, never in real life. And I didn't think of it to be that scary before seeing it in real life. I thought, well, it seems pretty safe. You know, you just don't think too much of it until you finally get to it, and then realize that this is like what's holding your life, and you know, and somebody set this up, you know, that it could be someone who's a professional, or it could be someone who would just kind of learn as you went, and it's just like, man, because you know, me as a skydiver, we have these things that come from factories that are, you know, tested to work, and you have all this extra safety for skydiving that, you know, you kind of like your life is on somebody else's hands, you know. And when you do this yourself, like the way you do it is, it's like this is your setup, your life, your whole skill set went into this, and for some reason that just like terrifying, like like being able to, like, that's a beautiful thing, like, to master, because you know, watching you do this is like watching a man on it doing, you know, in his craft,
man on a mission, huh? So
that's it's incredible. But man, I definitely took it for granted on how scary it is, man.
Did you think that you were gonna go out on the first Highline, because you skydive a lot?
Yeah.
And we'll get to that in a sec for sure. But so you're pretty used to the like adrenaline sports. So you thought, oh, like highlining. Yeah, you know, because you slackline too, right?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit.
I dabble in the slacklining. It's also another hard thing to do, but it's super safe. You know, you're on the ground, like, you know, nothing to be really afraid of. Falling off it's not scary. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, falling off this thing, even with the leash on, sounds scary.
Yeah, so it's different. Yeah, you put heights into the equation, and your mind just plays all these psychological tricks on you. But I kind of want to know, because, you know, first of all, it's crazy that this is the first Highline you've ever been on, and you're just out having lunch on it super comfortably. By the way, I want to take a pause before we go in too deep into these enchiladas. I want to take a video of them, And as always, taking the phone out here is really scary.
Yep.
So let me just do this real quick. So, okay, so we've got you can see all the caramelized onion and the cheddar kind of blended in there.
Tortillas.
Yeah, nice corn tortilla. And if I cut this, you can see all that chicken in there, good protein. Actually, I used a rotisserie chicken for this one, partially because I was lazy, but also partially because I thought it would just taste much, much better this way.
It's really good, man.
So
this is a feast
yeah,
right here.
we have a nice little feast going on. And if we get hungrier, we have cheese and crackers in this bag over here.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, that's a nice little food porn shot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At 80 feet off the ground. Golly.
At 80 feet off the ground. That is correct.
It's amazing, man.
And then I'll take one of these. So I've got a little tail on my phone.
Yep.
So this is my freak people out, but if I literally throw it off the cliff like that, it's not going anywhere. But so it doesn't stay in the sun.
Got all the toys, man.
Got all the tools, right? Okay, so this isn't the first Highline you've ever seen in person.
No.
You were in Yosemite.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this was maybe a little close to a year ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And you went to Sierra Point.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've never been there, but you have a beautiful view of Nevada Falls and Vernal Falls.
Yeah.
I've heard it's not directly really high, but I hear the perceived, like what you see is crazy exposure.
Yeah, it's so open, huge valley. Again, it's probably not as high like people might think, but it's definitely like, you know, those pine trees are not looking as big anymore.
Of course, yeah.
So you were up there and so it was definitely intimidating to look at, but the views of everything surrounding it was beautiful. Waterfalls all around, beautiful rocks just surrounding the area. So
nice.
That was pretty nice. Just my friend just had it set up and said, "Hey, you want to come check it out?" And I was like, "Cool, man." I was out there in Yosemite just goofing around, and had nothing to do at that moment. And he was like, "Okay, come on up."
So
nice little hike.
So how'd that happen? So you said this is a buddy of yours.
Mm-hmm.
So what's how did this adventure begin? Are you just randomly in Yosemite?
Yeah, no. So I was actually a random trip going to Yosemite. I actually then it was a random, and then it became a thing where the owner at Skydive Yosemite needed some help packing some main tandems, main parachutes, not the reserves. And so I said, you know what, sounds good. I'm already out here. So I decided to get like 3 days of working for them. Skydive Yosemite is a pretty small DZ that has, they only do two tandems per load because they have a small Cessna plane that only fits like 4 people at a time. So there's only 2 tandems per load. So it's pretty easy to keep up with. And then after that, these guys love to go out and be adventurous, like you know, climbing. They like to go out kayaking on the rivers. They like to do bouldering, and also and they do some slacklining.
I mean, of course, if you live near Yosemite, you have to do all the stuff. You have to climb, you have to slackline, you have to somewhat enjoy hiking because there's a lot of hiking to be done, but you have to be outdoorsy if you're living in Yosemite. Yeah, it makes sense.
It's definitely a place that makes you want to be outdoors, and you know, it's so much beauty out there, and then you see all these amazing people. Now it's easy to see these people do these amazing things and say, I could do that, but man, once you start doing it, and once you're at that point of like, okay, let's do it, man, stuff gets so real. So respect to all those people who go out there and do this type of stuff because that's exactly what happened. It got too real for me. This guy had this line set up. Again, maybe somebody else set it up, but he was just practicing. He wanted to get into his highlining. He's really good slackliner, so he thought, you know, I want to try this. And I got there, man, and it's just a buddy. He also, like, you know, he's done base jumps. He's a skydiver as well. So he's very, you know, he knows how to be under that type of pressure of adrenaline. So when he told me that he had a slackline set up, and like it didn't like surprise me, I was like, of course he does. So I go up there and I meet him up there, and it's just him and another of his buddies just hanging out, just trying to walk it because he couldn't walk on it yet because he was having too much problems because of the way the that it fell. Maybe he didn't have it tight enough or something that I just don't know. And so, but he was out there giving it his best, doing the best he could, and I was just watching him. He encouraged me to try it, but I just couldn't do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were out there, you couldn't do it. That's understandable. It's really scary the first couple times, but did you have the intention to try it as you were going out there? Like, is that?
I did.
That's the reason
Honestly,
you went out there,
I
right?
sure did. I thought about the wow, imagine to get a picture of me just on that Highline and just being around or just feeling it, but it just got too real. But I definitely wanted to try it. I definitely wanted, just as with this coming out to trying it. I do want to do it, but man, it's something that the fear of not having something to protect you is what really gets to me. That's why again, skydiving is the safest thing anybody will ever try. In terms of
interesting
altitude, because you're supposed to fall off, you're supposed to kind of do your thing, and then boom.
Yeah, but you have to commit to jumping out of an airplane.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I took my dad skydiving of 66 years old. So he did it, and he's done it twice already. He's not going to try it again, most likely, but it just shows you how it's hard. It's probably, unless you get a really good in shape guy that's 66, you won't take him up on a climb. You won't take him up on something like this because they're just too clumsy. But
that's
falling
true.
out, just push out and fall.
Right. So are you saying that anybody, regardless of their physical fitness levels or age, can go skydiving?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And how does that work?
Honestly, man, I'll tell you a little story about a guy recently. His name is Dale. I'll never forget his name.
Dale.
He's still jumping right now. So he came back. He was probably at his 60s already. Out of shape for sure. Not in good shape at all. And he said he wanted to come back skydiving, and I thought, whoa, shit, man, fucking respect to you. Let's do it. So we started looking at his gear, we fixed it up, we repacked it and everything. But before he could jump, he had to go through some recurrency jumps, has to go through the school and make sure that he's able to. Just because you jumped before doesn't mean you can come back and just start jumping again. So you have to be able to do some check dives, do some recurrency jumps. It could be just for them to see that you can fall stable, open your pilot chute when you need to, and then be able to
right, because no drop zone wants people dying there,
exactly.
Because then that's going to reflect poorly on them.
Yes,
correct?
Fatalities definitely take a toll on the drop zone. It's not a good thing. So they make sure that you're able to skydive. So this guy, he went and it's funny because I saw him I think the next day, and I was like, "What's up, Dale? How you doing? How's it going?" He's like, "Oh man, these planes are smaller than I remember." He's having a hard time kind of even sitting down as he's going up. So I was like, "Hey man, well, just see hopefully it works out, but we'll understand if it doesn't." And he was even thinking, "I don't know, man. I don't know. I gotta think about this one." But next thing you know, I keep seeing him coming back, getting his jumps in, and it always kind of makes me happy because it's somebody who's decided to that's it, no more. And then he came back, not in the best shape, and fucking sent it. And my man Dale, every time. It's so you could be in your 60s, come out to jump, and not have marathons on your belt or anything. You'll be able to land your canopy fine. They show you they put a radio on you, a walkie-talkie to show you when to flare. So when you flare, you kind of just slide in. And they don't send any students on bad weather. They make sure that you are good, that everything's going the way they should. If there's some sort of a crosswinds or two no winds at all, they'll kind of check that before sending anybody who has less experience. And after 8 jumps, man, you'll get the good experience.
That makes sense. And just for everyone watching, can you explain? Just because you said the word flare, and I feel a lot of people that might watch this aren't going to know what all that terminology means.
Gotcha.
So just walk us through, I guess, how skydiving works, start to finish, including, I know there's a lot more that you can go into, but, basics, right? What a normal person will need to know. Walk us through
So
how skydiving works, what the process is,
Awesome.
and how the parachute works, and how you land it, and all that stuff.
For sure. So you start off by going to your instructor. They'll tell you how to arch your body, which is basically you want to push down your hips, because that's going to be your body position as you're falling from the sky. So they want you to make sure that your body position is good on the ground. And once you're able to, they'll tell you to check your altimeter. Your altimeter is where you check the altitude of how, for your when you're falling from the sky. You'll see that'll decide when you're supposed to lock on to your altimeter. They'll tell you a certain altitude to pull your pilot chute, and then that's when you'll be able to deploy your canopy. So all this stuff, they run it in the ground first. Once you're ready to skydive, they put you in a jumpsuit. They go with one of the main things they teach you at first is checking your pilot chute. Like, you want to make sure that when you need to pull, that you're able to reach it and you're able to identify where it's at, so that you don't have a problem not finding your main. So once they can make sure that you can touch it and then you can check it, then after that they move on to the emergency procedures, right?
What is what is a pilot chute and all that stuff?
A pilot chute is it's a little bag that you put that has a bridle that's connected to the pin that goes to the rig, that connects to that has a closing loop that has the canopy inside.
Interesting. So that sounds a bit complicated.
Yeah,
for a whole system. But I guess if you're falling from the sky and you need it to save you, it's got to be complex, right?
Exactly. So that thing, once you deploy that little bag or that little pilot chute, that is what you call it, pilot chute, you deploy that thing, and what it does, it catches air. When it catches the air, it pulls all of your bridle, and it has so much force, man. It has crazy force. You wouldn't think that would open up your pilot chute, but when you're falling at 100 plus miles an hour, that thing is going to get yanked out. It's going to release your pin that's on your closing loop, and that will now open up the flaps of where your canopy. And as soon as those flaps open, that big canopy is going to start getting hit with that same amount of pressure and wind, and your thing is just going to open up.
Right.
So that's how that would work. That's what the pilot chute. So that's why it's important to check that pilot chute, because this was going to open your canopy. That's gonna release the pin into opening the canopy.
Right. Okay.
So
that makes sense.
So that's why it's a very important thing to check as you're beginning your skydiving journey, when you're doing your skydiving school. Once you are able to check that, you go to your emergency procedures, which is your cutaway and your reserve deployment. Now, your cutaway, you have a cutaway handle that will cut away, right? It's very self-explanatory. It'll cut away your main canopy, sending you away from you, making sure that whatever is wrong with it goes away. Your own hook. And then you stabilize yourself, and then you pop your reserve, which will then will be a perfect opening, because these are designed to open perfectly. They are inspected every 6 months to make sure that they're in good shape. So this one is gonna open for sure.
So I feel like most people would want their normal first parachute to open for sure, So why is it, I guess, more or less guaranteed that the reserve is going to open for sure? And why might the main one fail?
The main one will fail simply also if for poor packing. So if you're somebody who will let somebody else pack your parachute, and say, because sometimes things happen. Sometimes it could have a line over the canopy, so that when you open your canopy, you have a line over it, so you can't really tug on your lines, because that's what you do to see if you can maneuver, if you can control your canopy. If that's over the canopy, then it's just not gonna work. So you have to basically cut that away and open your reserve. It could also be in a tear in your main, where you probably dragged it and it has a little hole now, and now you have to basically see if it has holes. If it has a hole bigger than a softball, you basically have to chop it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it's all for emergency procedures. You might be okay, but at that point, you kind of don't want to risk anything.
Sure.
And you want to just make sure that everything is going the way that it should, and not try to save something. Sometimes you might get line twists. On big canopies, they're not much of a problem, but on a smaller canopy that's designed for performance, the moment you get a line twist, these things are going to start diving and spinning uncontrollably,
Right.
which will cause you to just, once you're spinning at that point, you might get that G-force that knock you out, so you might as well chop that thing, cut it away, and then go on the other side.
Wow, so you could spiral so fast that you get knocked out by just the G-forces?
Yep. Yeah,
that's
because
insane.
it's especially for high performers. Again, on big canopies, it's gonna be hard to do that because you have so much fabric on you that it'll probably just twist you up, and you still have a good canopy on top. All you have to do is kind of kick away and untwist.
Right, and that's happened to me before. Even
exactly.
I've opened, because I used to skydive, as I'm sure you know, because that's where we met.
Oh yeah.
And I never had my main parachute fail on me. But I did have up to, I want to say it was 4 full twists one time. And I remember I looked up and said, uh-oh, that doesn't look okay. And I was trying desperately to untwist them. It was really, I think that's the one time when I felt adrenaline in that sport, because I had never relied on my reserve. And I really didn't want to. I said, oh my God, I hope this first one works. I don't want to have to cut it and continue falling and then, rely on my last parachute.
They're there to save you though, so never be afraid to cut away. We've had students who cut away for the dumbest things, but we call it dumb, but at the end of the day, if they felt unsafe, they felt unsure and cut it away, it's still the right call, even if they weren't supposed to.
So what are some of those, I guess, quote unquote dumber reasons that you would cut away?
So they'll open their canopy, and one of the things they're taught is to see if it's there and if it's square. If it's there and square, then you are good. You have canopy over you. Now they look at the slider, because you have a slider that also helps when that's on your line. So that also aids the opening of your canopy to be smoother, not so aggressive.
So it doesn't break your back when it opens up. Right.
So that slider, what it does is it goes up and it comes back down. But it slides through the lines. It's not attached to the main canopy. It's not attached to the rig. It's just in the lines. So once your canopy is inflated, your slider starts to come back down. And some students have cut away because they see the slider coming down. So they think that's not what it's supposed to, but it is supposed to do that, because you then have to collapse your slider and you have to then ride it. So those are the little things that these people would cut away from. A good, perfectly good canopy, but they feel like the slider is something wrong, and so they need to.
Right, but they've all been okay, right?
Yeah,
of course,
they've all been away. Oh yeah, it's impressive, because that's your first jump, your first cutaway. That's happened before, and it's like. So that's pretty ballsy.
Do those people that have a cutaway on their first jump usually go back?
Some of them do, some of them don't. I know of one that didn't do it, that didn't come back.
Got it.
They kind of put a little excuse, but I understood that they felt like it's probably not for them. But nothing is ever gonna be perfect the first time.
Right.
So with skydiving, if the first time it just doesn't work out, but you still want to jump, just kind of get over that hurdle and then keep going. Unless you truly feel like, skydiving is just not for you and it's just kind of done with it, then that's understandable. There's no shame on that, because not everything is made for everybody.
Right.
But as far as if you still want to jump but you're like scared, then that means you should still go for it, because once you overcome that fear, then you realize, I was just kind of being blocked by some dramatic event or whatever.
Right.
But you just get back on it. I've had injuries where I've messed up my foot, messed up my arm. Do you get nervous getting back on it because you feel like you're gonna do the same mistake? Of course, but you just don't make the same mistake. You learn from your mistakes, and then you keep progressing.
And it's the same thing with something like highlining. I've been injured on a highline before, learned from it. It doesn't mean I'm not gonna come back and do it again.
Exactly.
It's always a learning experience.
Yeah.
you know, sure, there is always a little bit of trauma that comes with those experiences, and sometimes the trauma's too much and you don't want to go back.
Yeah.
That makes sense too.
It's crazy.
But all right, man. So, I mean, clearly you're really big into skydiving.
Yeah.
Let's go to the beginning. How did you get into that?
Oh man, I got into it as I was doing a life change in my life. Also, I do kind of have to pee in a bit, so
Okay.
if you see me moving around.
No, you're good.
So like I got into skydiving because I was living the 9-to-5 life, just like everybody else. I was working construction. I had my own little company thing where I was a self-contractor, so I was working doing hardwood floors and was building out my clientele. But I just wasn't feeling fulfilled. You know, just having Saturdays and Sundays off to just do the normal, which is staying home, doing laundry. It just felt like the adventure, it wasn't there. So one of the things that I decided to start with adventures, it's surfing. That's what got me started into the adventure life. Surfing
Was your first.
Yeah, that was my first thing.
First love.
Yeah, I love surfing. There's nothing, I love it more than skydiving, I would have to say, because it's just a thing where you're free, you know, like you're free to jump in the water. You don't have to pay anything. You can be there all day, and it's so therapeutic. You're like, yeah.
This probably isn't helping.
Yeah, bro, I'm fucking. Well, I want to pee soon, dude. Don't want to pee in your chair.
I mean,
kind of have to though.
You gonna try to go off the cliff here? That would be impressive. There's some people around.
I mean, I kind of have to pee, dude. Might pee in your thing though.
So here, what I recommend is maybe
probably gonna piss myself, dude.
Go back a little bit. Here, I'll try to get out of your way. Yeah, there you go. Give yourself some space.
Pee myself, do you?
Nah, man, you got this.
Oh, fuck, I can't.
I would stand in the chair. Like, have you seen me stand?
It's going down.
Are you sure? No worries, man.
Oh, fuck. Sorry, dude.
You're good, man.
It's happening, y'all.
It's a thing, man. Don't worry about it.
Oh, fuck.
Don't. Oh my gosh. Are you good though? we can totally cut this out if you want to. I gotta say that's not the weirdest or wildest thing I've ever seen.
Okay.
And on this podcast, it definitely has been the most wild thing. But I mean, you know, who cares? We got a washing machine back at home. It's all good. Man. It's all good.
Use this. Fuck it. Use it, bro. Might as well get something out of it.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yep. All right. Now I can answer all your questions, bro.
Hey, I'm sorry for laughing.
You're good, brother.
But it just came to me that I know what we're gonna title this video. We're gonna use something like Skydiver pees himself on a Highline or something.
Fucking A, dude. Piss myself on this shit.
It's all good, man.
All right.
Where were we? Let's try to get back to it.
So, yeah, how did it start? Oh my gosh, I can think so much clearer now.
You really had to go, huh?
Oh, dude, I was holding it for like the last 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
I was just like, there's no way it's gonna happen, and I'm like, it might go down, but it's okay.
It's all right, man. Yeah.
Expect the unexpected.
Hey, at least it was a number 2.
Oh yeah, no, I took care of that earlier. All right, yeah, man. So the way that I started this journey was through that, and then once I got my sense of adventure, and then once I realized the surfing was it, and then trying horse riding, and I just kind of wanted to be more adventurous. So I looked up skydiving. I was just gonna go for a random tandem. Nothing. I wasn't planning on becoming a skydiver. I didn't even think you could become a skydiver. I thought that's something Red Bull or Monster or those people
right
do, you know?
Okay, yeah.
So I just went for a tandem, and they said, hey, you know, you can learn. And I thought, well, shit, man, okay, how much is it? $2,000. Okay, I spend my money on worse. So that's kind of also what guided me to
Interesting.
to doing that, because a lot of people think, oh, it's expensive, but I'm like, well, we spend more money on just drinks and other
Exactly.
stuff.
No, yeah,
that,
absolutely.
that why not become a skydiver for $2,000?
Dude, I love that.
So I was like, okay, let's do it. And so my first jump was actually my first AFF jump.
Wow.
I didn't have a tandem jump at all. It was just straight to jumping.
So does that mean basically that? So a tandem jump is when you have someone that's been doing this for a really long time, a professional, attaches to you, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
they do all the work. You just go along for the ride.
Yes.
You experience
Exactly.
the falling.
Exactly.
And then they pull the parachute. They land the parachute. They basically go from A to Z, do all the work.
Yeah.
But you doing your AFF first jump, that means your first jump was completely alone, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Like I landed that thing. So because they send you with 2 instructors as you're falling, but once you open your canopy, you're on your own.
Right, and they're just falling next to you. It's
Yeah.
not like they're attached to you in any way.
Exactly.
Like they're holding on
Yeah.
to you, but right, yeah,
But once they're gone, because they gotta look out for their lives as well.
right.
So they're only there to like help you deploy in case you get into a panic moment. But after that, you open and you are on your own. They put a little walkie-talkie on you to kind of to tell you when to flare, or to say, hey, can you hear me, do a right turn. So that's what they do. That first jump, it was very nerve-wracking as well, just super scary, but I don't know, man, I just felt okay. Especially when you got so many people jumping at the same time. You feel like part of a community. So now you're seeing. And that's the beauty about that sport, is that you have young people, you have older people, you have women, men. So when you see other people who are not as athletic or something and they're doing it, then that motivates you, because you're like, oh shit, this can't be that hard. Or you see somebody who's 50 doing it, and you're like, well, what am I bitching about? So that also added to staying committed, because every time I went, it was always what the fuck am I doing here?
Really?
Like, what am I doing here? This is insane. Like, just even this, like, I'm like, what, for why? But you just do it because it's a fun thing, like skydiving, doing this is an amazing workout that you get out of setting something up, and then it gives you that rush as well. It's not like just going to work out at the gym and then like doing rock climb at the gym, but this is like the outdoors.
It's different,
makes it real.
Like this is the kind of thing, for any of this, like skydiving, rock climbing, highlining, this is the kind of thing where like someone that like you said, who's like kind of a more on the normal spectrum, that they're kind of regulars, maybe. They might go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, and then on weekends they go out for dinners or drinks or stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is the type of thing where those people will see and say, you guys are fucking crazy,
Yeah, it definitely is, man, for sure.
How many times would you say you've been told that by just people?
Oh man,
too many to count.
Many times.
Too many to count, huh?
They think we're like have a death wish. They think we have that we're just fucking out of our minds. The death wish comes a lot, and I feel that in a way it's you kind of I don't know how to describe that, because just like that saying goes, at the edge, like once you're like at the edge of death is when you experience life,
Yeah.
When you are feeling like you're staring at death, that's when you feel so alive, It's like so it's like, do you have a death wish? You don't, but you want to be at that edge,
right,
to experience that full thing of living,
right.
like to me, getting out of the plane is the most nerve-wracking part, like when you're about to jump off.
Of course.
It's like, it gets real. You see the abyss, you see the freaking, how high you are, you're looking at death, but you just jump off, and now you're flying, you're floating, and then you just feel happy, complete happiness.
Right. That's crazy though, man. So, okay, so when was the time frame? When would you say you started surfing?
Surfing, that was I was even still late, man. I was like 23 to 24 years old, so that's I always say that I kind of started my life a little late, and that's a good message that if anybody's watching is it's okay to start life at 24, 26, even 30. Like, it's never too late to really go out there and be and do this type of stuff, you know, because I thought that at 24, I mean, I'm at the beach trying to surf and I see little kids that are like 8 years old just ripping right next to me. So it kind of, it makes you think like, fuck, man, like I'm so late to this sport. But then you also see the same thing when you go to the beach. You also see these OGs who are out there just having fun and they're on this big board, so it gives you that encouragement. But it's very easy though when you see the youngers or you see other people who kind of have more time in the sport. It's easy to kind of get you discouraged to like even try more. You're like, oh well, I mean, you know, I feel like I'm late to it. You're never too late to it. I think anybody who's trying to do skydiving in their 30s, who's trying to do climbing in their 30s, 40s, I think you know, I'd say send it. And don't feel that the age has anything to do with it, because again, I started at 24. I was like, my old past life, I wasn't happy with it, and then I started surfing, and that little bit, like once a week on the weekend, it's all that it took to just keep going and keep active. And then you meet people who are also into that, you know, like it's about who you're with. If you're at the clubs, you're gonna find people that like going to clubs. If you're at the beach, you're gonna find people who like to go to the beach, who want to keep doing more adventure stuff. So that's where you'll find the type of people to keep going, to fuel you up, you know, like so definitely follow the whatever you're following, like whatever it is, skydiving, surfing, definitely follow those and then stick to it. Some people will not follow you into doing skydivings and surfing.
Yeah, of course.
So it's important to still be surrounded by the people who will join you, or if not, sometimes you gotta do it alone, and that's all right. So after 24, I just kept surfing. I did some horseback riding as well, but surfing was just everything, like every weekend. And now it's been like 3-4 years. I'd say 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
Of so like really surfing.
You're 28 right now?
No, I'm 30 now.
Oh.
But it's like so at 24 I started surfing, but 25, 26 is when I really started getting into
I understand.
like actually surfing more. 24 is when I kind of found it, and then it was just on a huge freaking board, 9 foot long, foamy, and it's just kind of like learning how to even sit on the board, how to check the waves, and then still going to that back to 9 to 5. But that's what sparked the adventure.
Right.
At 25 and 26, I started getting more into the surfing world, and it's been fun, man. It's been fun for sure.
So you keep saying you keep talking about the 9 to 5 like it's a past thing. Do you not work a 9 to 5 anymore?
No, I think I don't work a 9 to 5 anymore. My job is more as a self-contractor for rigging, so I get paid by what I do, not by how much time I have in there. Not the amount of
hours.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So that's why I kind of say I don't do the 9 to 5. But I think the 9 to 5 could also mean something where you are stuck in the system of having to be at a place where you don't really want to be at, and so and then the stress that comes from that adds to that you not wanting to be there, which makes people hate their jobs. Because stress will be even there on things that you love.
Right.
But if you love it, you'll tolerate it.
We lost our GoPro. Let's put a new battery in there.
Nice, bro.
Before we continue, bit of a pause.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, there we go.
Worked out perfect.
Yeah. Okay, we are back. So, so you were telling me you no longer do 9 to 5. You do more contracting work because you pack reserves now, right?
Yes.
That's really cool, by the way.
Thank you.
I think that's awesome. I mean, does it ever boil down to you thinking about how many people's lives you've literally saved?
Yeah, honestly, man, it's insane because I always think of I always tell people too the same thing of how they feel, but when they ask me, I just don't feel like I'm like, oh, like I'm doing this crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I completely understand it because I have the same thoughts about other people who like do this type of rigging, you know? Like
Right.
to me this is like fucking insane, dude. Like how do you do this? Like
Right.
amazing. Because at the end of the day, this is saving 2 lives right now.
You're not
You know?
wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong.
This is what this is doing. So without the proper rigging, you know, this would not hold.
That's
so,
true.
So to me, this is just as important as the rigging that I do. So when they ask me like, oh, how does it feel to save, like, you know, like last week we had 2 tandems I cut away, both of my pack jobs. So that means it was 4 lives that were saved.
Right.
But it's just hard to say, oh, like I can't believe I just saved those 2 people. I just felt like, oh, cool, like, you know, my job worked, like my pack job worked, everything's good, like. It just be like, okay, cool, you know, because it just became so normalized that I don't feel like I'm doing something like saving lives.
Right.
But so it's insane.
But you're enjoying what you're doing.
Oh yeah, I love it. Like to me, packing reserves is beautiful. I love to leave everything super nice. In my Instagram, I love to do little stories about how I do the folds. If it's somebody I know, I'll tag them so they can see like the whole process that goes into doing the rig.
That's cool.
And that way, and I want to leave it nice because I want presentation to be nice when they see those videos. So everything's very, I have a lot of pride in my work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also thanks to my master rigger, Layla Mars, who's the one that taught me, who's super anal. He's the type of guy who leads by example. If he doesn't like a rig the way it is, he'll pop it open, do it again. And doesn't matter if it's...
and it's a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
How long would you say it takes you to pack one reserve?
From start to finish, getting it out from the shelf and then putting it back on the shelf, I'd say an hour and 30 minutes.
Hour and 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're working, I know you're not working hourly, but let's say you were working 8 hours a day, you could probably get 5 of them done or so?
Yeah, I'd say the usual, say if I had to, yeah, like 5 of them, but... A sweet number in packing, it's about 3 to 4 reserves a day.
3 to 4 reserves a day.
Yeah, it's a good. 4 reserves is a pretty good day. 3 reserves is okay. 2 reserves is kind of just chilling.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're doing this every day?
Yeah.
So because you're doing this at a skydiving center, right, at a drop zone, are you just skydiving anytime you're not packing? So, okay, that's crazy. That's a lot of skydiving.
So, and that's what like makes the job so much fun, right? Like, that's what I love about it, that maybe I'll be a little stressed out. You know what? Let me just take a break. I'm going to get a jump real quick.
I saw a really cheesy billboard. It's on the 395 actually, right over there. And it's a big billboard for Mammoth that says "Work where you play." Yeah. You literally work where you play.
That's right.
That's awesome.
It was a dream, man. It's definitely a dream come true. I had a friend. I always thought her job was really cool too because she had a job working in a lab where right across from it was Skydive Santa Barbara.
Okay. And
she would pretty much tell me, like, I'll tell her, well, how was your day? I was like, it was nice. You know, I'll be working. And then on my lunch break, I would go across the street and get a jump in.
Nice.
And I always thought that was really cool. So it's super nice that now I have a job where I can also do the same thing.
Right, yeah.
Where I can say, you know what, let's lunch. Let me go for a little lunch break.
Can you go for a little jump? Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool, actually. Congrats.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And it took a long time to get to that spot because the initiative, you know, of me wanting to do this thing, because I was sick of my old job. But nobody was gonna come and give me like, oh, here's this easier job.
Right. It's not gonna ever be handed to you on a silver platter. You have to go out and seek it.
And it worked out, man, because nobody ever has it easy since the beginning. You kind of always have to work for it.
Sure.
So I'm super proud that I was able to look see like, hey, there's potential in packing, and then just went for it. And then next thing you know, I end up working at a DZ that has so much traffic in terms of rigs, because it's one of the most popular rigs here in
Right.
California.
Right.
Elsinore is super popular. It has so many tandems that come jump. Customers, a lot of fun jumpers who are licensed skydivers. They come and jump there a lot too, and so like famous people go there. So it's a very great spot to be at, and I was lucky enough to get there because before working there, I was working just packing main parachutes for tandems or for licensed skydivers, I was gonna get just my license just to be able to keep doing that, just keep packing mains, and I was gonna work for a different DZ. But then when I got there, I guess nobody was actually really wanting to work in that field of packing reserves.
Really?
And to me it was, and it made sense because to work as a rigger, you kind of have to sacrifice a lot of your other time, and just focus on rigging.
Right.
I have a lot of my friends, they want to get their ticket and go straight to military contracts where once you get your rigger certification, you have two choices. You can either just get the certification and then start doing military contracts because all they want to see is that you went through that course.
Okay.
And then all you're doing is packing main parachutes. You're not ever going to touch a reserve.
For the military.
For the military. And those are contracts. So that's like, say, they'll tell you, okay, we'll give you 400 per day, no matter how many you pack.
But you're working all day.
Yeah, you're working all day, and say if it's cloudy and there's no jumping, you still get paid.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so because it's by contract. So
that's cool.
It's like so long as you're there, you're gonna get paid, like whether you're working or not. So that's what most people are gone. They go to those things because packing a reserve. I didn't start getting cleaner with my reserve until I was like at 100 reserve pack jobs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How many reserves have you packed?
Now I'm at 500 reserves. And I started last year. Yeah, I started last year, beginning of January. That's when I got my ticket. So 500 reserves in 1 year. That's a lot of reserves.
Yeah, that's like if you're working 7 days a week, that's almost 2 reserves a day.
Yeah,
that is a lot.
So that's what and that school that DZ it's you make it possible to do that because any other place where the DZ that I come from, that place was only open weekends and not many rigs to come by. Right. So like, if you pack like 10 of them, you probably already done with all the work that you needed to do at any other DZ. But at Elsinore, it's open 7 days a week, from sunrise to sunset, and so it's a pretty good place to rack up your numbers. And so it's super grateful that I made that jump towards that. Because now I built up my reserve pack jobs. Now I just need to get better at my sewing skills, and in a year get my master rating so that I can be my own, be a master rigger who basically knows how to do the whole work. Sure. Yeah. And
I have a quick question. So you've got almost, you said you have 500 reserve pack jobs. How many jumps do you have? I bet that number is well over 1,000 at this point, right?
Oh man, no, I wish.
Not yet.
Not yet, man. I'm still very low in jumps because, like I said, it took a big toll on my jumping.
Because you were packing all the time. You weren't ever jumping.
Yeah. And so where I was working, it was just me and the master rigger. So it was like I couldn't really go out because we had so many reserves to pack. I mean, there was times I was working from 6 a.m. to like 9 p.m. Right. So, and that was just, and it's been like that this whole year, and that's another thing because nobody's working in those things.
Right.
So I mean, I'm at the most I'm at 400 skydives. You know?
That's still pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, 400 is a lot more than I ever got to.
Yeah. So considering like the other people, like my boss, he has like 12,000 jumps.
12,000 jumps. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
I can't even.
That's a lot of jumps.
So if you're jumping once a day, let's see. If you jumped once a day, it would take you about 36 years before you hit 12,000
yeah,
jumps.
Man. So the master, my boss, he's been jumping since he was 16 years old.
Wow.
So these guys are like way up there in numbers. So for us, 400 is not that much, but to many people who I tell them that it's like 400, they're like, oh my gosh, that's so many.
I know. I'm sorry. My mind is just blown at the 12,000.
Oh, dude.
That's
When you come to Elsinore, I introduce you to Jay Stokes. He's the world record holder for most jumps in one day, 600 jumps in one day, in 24 hours.
How is that even possible?
Bunch of hop and pops. He had multiple turn rigs, multiple planes. It was for a charity event, but he's certified badass, man.
In order to get that done, that sounds like a team effort, right? Like
definitely.
Like pilots are like in line, ready to go.
Definitely.
He comes down, lands, throws the rig off. You guys already have a new rig ready for him. Like you probably put it on his back and everything, strap it, and he runs into a new plane.
Yep.
It goes up, he comes down, and you rinse and repeat.
Eating
right?
on the plane, having to pee in a
bottle,
bottle.
of course. What if he had to go number 2? Or did he hold it all day?
I mean, you kind of want to bust a boot camp on that. Just kind of boom and
you
squeeze
just
it out
put a
and
cork
boom.
in it.
I mean, he's also an ex-military guy, ex-Army Ranger and everything. So, you know, the military, they show you how to do those boot camp style craps where you just kind of go push it out and boom, back in.
Right.
So I'm sure he used some of that skill for that day.
Okay.
And there's he's really, really awesome dude, man. Very humble guy. You'll get to meet him. Jay Stokes.
Jerry Stokes. That's a cool name.
Yeah, Jay
Stokes.
Sorry. Yeah, man. He's super humble. Very nice dude. He's the one that I did at Elsinore right now. He's the AFF administrator. So when you do your practical to get your senior ticket for rigging, you have to go through him. He'll do you'll do a patch. He'll see if the patch is good, and then he'll do the reserve, and he'll check if your lines are straight and everything, and he's the one that's gonna pass you.
Cool.
So pretty blessed to have him at the DZ. So, but yeah, man, 600 jumps in one day. That's insane.
That is insane.
Insane.
Yeah, that's crazy. I want to put another quick pause on this on this episode, and I want to ask really quick, what does it cost the normal person to go and skydive at Lake Elsinore, like with your crew? What would that cost? Like, if my mom or my dad wanted to go skydiving,
oh man,
what would it cost them to go do that?
A tandem jump goes from $200 to $300.
Why does it vary?
So you have different options of jumping at different altitudes.
Okay.
You can decide to jump from 9,000 feet or 12,000 feet. It really doesn't matter. Some people think that it's lower, it's less scary, but it's just as scary.
Yeah, it's just as scary. You just get a little bit less free fall, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So for $200, you come out at around 9,000, and for $300, you go all the way up to 12.
Yep, exactly. And also with the 300 more, like when you spend more, you have like now another person like having another angle recording you.
You get all the footage.
All
right, well,
yeah.
Let's do this. We're shooting this podcast. By the way, this is episode 3 of the podcast.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm feeling like I want to get somebody stoked on the idea of skydiving. So I'll tell you guys what. If this video gets 1,000 likes, I will personally pay one of the people that like this video, or a lucky subscriber, I should say, to go and skydive at Lake Elsinore.
Let's do it.
So let's get this video shared. Let's get it to 1,000 likes, and one lucky subscriber is gonna get a free skydive from me. $300 value.
Let's go skydiving.
Let's go skydiving.
Easy.
And with that said, you know, we're probably getting close to wrapping this up. So, you know, episode 3. We have more episodes planned already.
Yeah.
This is really fun, so I could see this as something that continues to happen. So for everyone out there, really quick, just do us a big favor. Hit that subscribe button down below.
Like and share, y'all.
Share the video.
I pissed myself doing this, man. Come on.
You really did. You might as well, you know. If for anything, share it so people can have a little laugh in their day. Man.
Oh, dude, that was epic.
I saw on your Instagram, I'm gonna just set this down right here. I saw on your Instagram that you guys were jumping at night. What is that like? I never got to experience jumping at night or even in the evening. How does that differ from jumping in broad daylight to, you know, coming out of a plane at night? Because I assume you can't see the ground, right? I mean, you can, but there's just a bunch of little lights, right?
Oh yeah, it's super easy to get disoriented. That's for sure. So main thing they tell you when you debrief down before you go up is they say they're gonna have you point at the landing zone at the DZ, and if you are able to see it, they want you to point it out, and then they'll check and make sure that it's the right one. But if you're pointing at something that is not, you will not be allowed to jump.
So you can be up in the plane, and if you point at the wrong thing, they're gonna say you're staying in the plane and riding back down. Oh my goodness!
Exactly, because you have to know, because it's not easy to spot it, but it's also not hard, if that makes sense. It's like you look down, you kind of see, they tell you which is what you got to look for. You have this huge lake that's about, I'd say about 4 or 5 miles from the DZ. So when you see this huge lake, it's just this dark spot on the ground because there's no lights on it.
Right.
So then you kind of, okay, and then since you jump it throughout the day as well, they want to make sure that you did at least one jump during the day to know that you're familiar with what you were supposed to be looking at. So they have you, so you get up there, once you're at altitude, you look down and you can see where the DZ is at, and then you'll see the cars that they line up to that's gonna to illuminate the landing zone. So once you're up there, you get to see that. Okay, cool, and they give you different, like everything becomes much more strict. As in, when we break off, we all have to we break off. The one person has to open at a certain altitude. The other person has to open at another altitude. Another person has to open at another altitude.
So there's less chances of you guys colliding.
Exactly.
And do you guys have lights on yourselves
Yes.
so you can see each other?
Yes, we have red light and a green light. If we put the red light in front of us and the green light behind us, whether it's the back of your calf, your
that's so
something.
you can tell, like, say I'm coming towards you.
Yeah.
I can tell whether we're coming towards each other.
Exactly.
Or if I'm coming toward you but you're going away from me.
Exactly.
Right?
So if you can see green, that means that person is going away from you because they have the green behind them.
Interesting.
Right? If you see red, that means that person's coming towards you and you have to now evade.
And to evade, you guys both just turn right.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. You kind of just turn right, and then that person should see you as well.
Cool.
But it gets a lot more dangerous. But luckily, like from the jumps that I've done like 4 night jumps already, and I have not had any problems in terms of colliding with other jumpers, because that's the main danger when jumping at night. You don't see other jumpers on their canopy. You don't. Especially, their canopy is the most dangerous part. So once you have that, then the landing is the fun part too, because the landing, when you're landing, it's so dark that you can't really see the ground getting closer. You just see it moving, and so that's another way of getting a little disoriented. So the landing definitely has a play. It makes it difficult, but that's part of the fun, man. It's like you never know if will I land this good? You might not. But that's one of the risks, that you take. I mean, we see guys who are swooping at night, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Which is freaking insane. That's like these guys are hauling ass at 60, 70 miles an hour, making that turn over the grass,
and for everyone that doesn't know what swooping is, it's like you're kind of coming in like nice and stable, and then all of a sudden you dive the canopy so that it's going straight down to the ground, and right before you hit the ground you swoop it up and land really fast going like this. It's something I never got to do. I don't know if it's something I want to do.
It's insane.
Terrifying.
It's insane, man. It's like I have so much respect for the guys that do that. But you can see how you can just push the sport so much, man. Like, these guys are already free flying and going 200 miles, 250 miles an hour, and then on their canopy they want to still go, like 100 miles an hour, and then 80 miles an hour over the ground, which is freaking. It looks cool as hell, but the adjustment and the correction of all that has to be so perfect, because we've seen people just dive into the ground and just get their broken legs, broken femur, or like even I have a friend of mine who's Unfortunately, she just became a quadriplegic because of that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
She slammed into the ground
yeah.
and she can't walk anymore?
Nope, that's it.
Paralyzed type deal? Or?
Yeah, I'd say, man, because she's in a wheelchair all the time and she just, she just can't move anymore.
Oh my
only
God.
her feet or her face. They've been trying to do rehabilitation and trying to get her to get physical training, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's just not working out for now. We still have hope that she'll get better, but that's how dangerous that swooping thing is.
Yeah, so you can become a quadriplegic by failing to swoop.
Yep.
Oof.
Yep. So it's definitely not something that I mess around with because I want to land safe and be able to walk home and so it's just who's willing to take that risk.
Would you say that swooping is the most dangerous thing you could do as a skydiver?
Fuck, dude. I'd say that's one of the most dangerous things you could do because at the end of the day, the free fall, we're all free falling. Everything's going at a certain same speed. Anybody who's not an experienced skydiver could easily, like by mistake, fall super fast. But landing, that's what makes the difference between those who are flying a big canopy and they're able to land it no problem. But then you see these guys who are just fucking hauling ass, and they're adding an extra risk to their landing.
Right.
So for if you don't swoop, you really don't have too much risk. There's always a risk of like hurting yourself, even on big canopies. But swooping is taking it to the extreme. It's like rock climbing, and then you decide to solo climb that thing. It's like you have now added one more risk to it, where you can't fuck up because it has to go perfect.
Right. Man.
So.
That's wild.
Yeah, so definitely skydiving is still an extreme sport.
I don't think anybody's trying to argue that it's not an extreme sport.
Some people forget about the dangers, man. Some people, they like to make if I have this, I have that, it'll be safe. But skydiving, it's super dangerous. Anything can happen. Just going up on the plane, like not long ago, some guy, his BOC is where you install your pilot chute, the ones that we discussed.
BOC, short for bottom of container, right?
Yeah. So that BOC was, I don't think it was loose, but I don't think his pilot chute was tucked in nice enough, because if you don't tuck in your pilot chute well, you now have this loose fabric that once it catches air, it's going to pull out.
Right.
And if you're on the plane, when that's happening, that's super bad. And that's exactly what happened. This guy, his pilot chute got pulled out. And then when that happens, you're told to just jump out of the plane. Just get out of it. Just don't try to save it. Just jump off. And if he doesn't jump off, the other instructors who are there, anybody who can, to push him out.
They're gonna physically assault him to push him out of the
plane.
Exactly. That's crazy.
Because if that thing opens inside the plane, it's like it can rap about something that it could also now put the lives of everybody on the plane in danger, including the pilot. So when that happened, dude, I wasn't there to see it personally, but I was there that day when it was happening at the DZ, and this guy pretty much his pilot chute got pulled. His canopy was inflating. Rather than jumping out, he tried bringing it back in. But dude, at that force, at the speed, at 12,000 feet, you just even at 5,000 feet, that thing just yanked him out, dude. Just yanked him out very violently. I'm assuming he's in the hospital right now, but he's
wait, so
he's alive.
This was recent?
Yeah, this was about 2 weeks ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was very, and I actually packed his reserve. I know the guy. So when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, I couldn't believe it. But that's how, those to me is like, those are also dangerous things where, you think everything's fine and then boom, that thing flies out. So every time when I'm in the plane and the door's open, before they open the door, we like to scream out door. Not because the door needs to be open, but also because you want to put your hand on your pilot chute, make sure that this doesn't get hit with no wind, and once the door is fully open, now you can let go of it.
Right.
And that's why we yell door at the.
That makes a lot of sense.
And so things like that could happen, and then it doesn't matter if you have the all the like good gadgets and everything. If that happens, even if you have a $10,000 rig on you, those are the risks.
So mistakes happen. It's risky. What would you say has been your biggest mistake to date while skydiving? Or do you have a clean record and have like not very many?
So thankfully, because of my job, it's been a slow progression on me. So I haven't gotten too hungry in terms of like wanting to do cool, wanting to be the cool guy. Like, hey, I want to get this right now. So I've been thankful that I've done it very slow. I've had little injuries here and there, but that's just from part of the game. Like one time I did a low turn, right? And you're not supposed to do low turns. Low turns means if you're making a turn on your canopy at like 100 feet. When you do a turn at 100 feet, you have to understand that when you turn your canopy, it's not a completely straight turn. It's a turn that also has a dive. Mm-hmm. So once you turn at 100 feet, you now are turning and diving into the ground. And if you don't have enough to recover, you're just gonna dive into the ground. And that's exactly what happened to me. I made a turn, dove, boom, like there was no flaring at all. It was just right onto my leg. Thankfully, I didn't break it, but I did freaking peel all my skin on my left leg, which then I was out for skydiving for at least a month and a half, because now I have to let this, from getting infected, and then, having to keep it clean, and it's uncomfortable. So those are the mistakes that I've done. But it's, and I've done also other little mistakes of like when you flaring means when you're coming down, about to land your canopy and you hit the brakes. That's what flaring is. Right. You hit the brakes, and you now. So if you hit the brakes too low, you're most likely gonna hit the ground because you weren't fast enough. If you hit the brakes too high, your canopy will now lift you up, and now you're gonna come down like an elevator ride. If you say you hit the brakes at 10 feet, and then your canopy goes up, you are now gonna come back from 20 feet straight down. So it's like jumping from a house to the ground. So you'll hurt yourself there too. Ooh. So yep. That's why the hitting the brakes has to be very precise.
Very precise.
Yeah. So and you get a lot of canopy courses to teach you how to do that stuff. But man, and talking about it, right? It sounds like, oh man, everything has to be so perfect. But dude, very, very rare that you see people get super messed up at DZs. Like almost everybody, people that you wouldn't think, oh, they're gonna eat it. You'll see it, and then boom, they're just landing nicely. So that's the beauty thing about skydiving, that even though it sounds everything so complex and right. Everything needs to be perfect and it's like super dangerous, the adrenaline is rushing, but everything's cool, man.
Everything's cool.
Everything's cool. Like everybody's just safe, and after the first jump is done, man, that little that nerve-wracking feeling goes away, and then you just want like, okay, let's go do another one.
Nice, yeah.
So okay, it's that's the beauty about skydiving, man. So anybody who wants to go skydiving. Is the best, safest sport ever. You're gonna love it. There's really nothing to be scared of, especially when you're going with a professional. These guys have thousands of jumps. Like those tandem instructors have, 5,000 and up jumps. So these guys can land on almost every wind. They land any type of person from old to young, so they have the experience. So skydiving will be a beautiful thing. And to get your license, super easy as well. So anybody who wants to skydive, just come get your license. And it's a journey that'll take you to it changes people. I've known people who work at the ERs and then they're like regular lives, like posting pictures of their cats and stuff like that. And then now they become skydivers, and now they're just like, they even change their names. They're like, hey, like I'm, skydiving this or skydiving that. And now it becomes a part of who you are. And then you just meet all these people, like without it, I would have never met you, Alonzo.
That's true.
Like, like I would have still been in LA because that's where I was raised, South LA. And I would have never tried to come out and do any of this stuff. So
It's very true. Very true.
So I believe that these sports bring us together.
So the basics, what you're saying is go skydive.
Go skydiving. Yeah, man.
And remember,
super
guys.
Safe.
And remember, someone can go skydiving for free if we get this video to 1,000 likes.
Come skydiving, guys.
So
let's get this likes.
Before we wrap this up, I have one more question. If I can get this in here. Beautiful. I have one more question for you. So earlier we were talking about how a bunch of people come to Lake Elsinore, and at one point you mentioned famous people.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
now,
snap.
You know where I'm going with this. Yeah. Tell me, dude. Tell me about packing for Nims, because I remember I was scrolling through Instagram one day, and you hit the little bubbles on top, and you see like what all your friends are up to, and I saw you, and like you tagged this guy who I had literally seen in a movie the day before, and by the way, for everyone that doesn't know, Nims is the guy from the 14 Peaks documentary.
Yep.
Highly recommend it. They climbed the world's tallest 14 peaks in under a year. Was that
6 months if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, definitely under a year.
6 months. And to kind of just put a cherry on top of that statement, one of those peaks he did while he was hungover.
Oh yeah, super hungover.
I mean, man, you gotta be insane to be able to do. I mean, have you ever mountaineered?
Not to that extreme.
I've gone mountaineering several times. I've climbed Mount Shasta a few times. I've climbed Mount Whitney a few times. A couple other 13,000 foot peaks around California. And man, I gotta say, even just the peak like Mount Shasta kills me. Just absolutely kills me. And these guys are just climbing the world's tallest peaks, hungover, in 6 months, like
in the harshest conditions.
And I remember in the documentary they were saying, I don't think this peak's gonna go, the weather isn't good, this and that, and he goes, it has to go.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can talk a lot about how you shouldn't risk your life for a thing you're trying to do, right? But I mean, he pulled it off.
He was confident.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
I've never met him, but I could tell just from watching that movie that the dude is an absolute beast.
Yeah.
So
he knew that he was gonna this is mine, because nobody gives themselves that little short of a timeline, and because even if he had done it in 1 year, he still breaks the record.
Right.
Because the guy that had done all those peaks took him 16 something years, or probably much more, but definitely took him years to accomplish that. So for Nims to give himself that deadline is like, okay, this guy has something up his sleeve.
He was on it, yeah.
Because it was that was an amazing thing he did.
So what did you do for Nims? You were his packer, right?
Yeah. So we got a bunch of tandem rigs, and I saw the logos that said Nimsdai, because that's his full name.
Right.
His last name, if I'm not mistaken, Purja, Nimsdai Purja. And I saw that and I was like, well, that looks familiar. And then he actually stepped into the loft, and when I saw him, I was like, is that him? But it was something that it didn't set. I was like, is that him? I don't know. It can't be. It's just like, it can't be him.
Right.
Next thing you know, he steps out, and it was my boss who was like, dude, that's him. And I was like, no, dude, it can't be him. And next thing you know, boom, he comes back in, and we're like fucking little schoolgirls.
It's like seeing a superhero in real life.
I mean, dude, meeting someone like that, it's like, what do you, it's like Superman right here, dude. You just saw him achieve the impossible. This is like elite of the elite,
Yeah.
And so that guy comes in, and he's super nice too. He's like, hey, how you doing, my brother? How's it going? Thank you for everything. And super humble guy, very nice. So they brought those rigs because they're planning on doing jumps over Mount Everest, tandem jumps over Mount Everest. So they're definitely having that planning.
Wait, are they? I don't know if you're supposed to say, but are they opening a drop zone right near Mount Everest?
I don't think they're opening a DZ. I think it's more like who wants to come jump. And then they're like, it's kind of like, because he has his own expeditions in Everest as well.
It's going to be a special project for him.
It's a special project. It's like the jumps are going to be super expensive, so I don't think it's something that people are going to be like, oh yeah, I'll be for the next one. I think it's going to be probably like $10,000 jump type of thing, you know?
Of course.
But but he brought those in, and I just started packing them. They wanted to get them done in the next 2 days, and it was all full assembles. Which full assembles means we had to install everything. Assemble the main parachute, assemble the reserve.
Okay, out of battery already.
Yeah, buddy.
Wow, we've been out here for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, I'll let you continue this, and then we can wrap it up pretty soon because our cameras are telling us it's time.
Yeah, but yeah, man, we're putting everything together, installing the AADs. The AADs, the automatic activation device, which is there to. That's another thing about the sport being so safe. That say you're knocked out unconscious, you have in your rig AAD, which is supposed to activate. If you haven't pulled your reserve, if you haven't done anything, it'll activate itself at about 1,000 feet. It has a little cutter that will cut your closing loop, and that would engage your reserve.
Right, and it's basically just like a little computer that knows, it'll sense like, oh, I'm falling still really fast, and I've now hit 1,000 feet. Let's cut this thing and have it blow open.
That's his decision altitude, and boom, like it'll open. So that's another thing that makes the sport real safe.
Right.
But yeah, so we install all of those I installed all of those in this rig. We did the packing of the reserve like we usually do. It was nothing different. It was just new rig. That's all.
Right.
Everything that we've done before, all I had to do the same thing. Pack those up. Pack the mains. Everything ready to go. And I stayed up all night doing it. By the way, because he was like he needed it like in 2 days. So. Wow. And to do those, it was just taking a long time. So I stayed up all night watching 14 Peaks.
And
while packing his reserves. So I was like, I'm not going to complain about a couple, some reserves when this guy's over here doing Everest in 48 hours.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So that gives you motivation. So I'm watching that as I'm packing it. And then I knew because he said, hey, tomorrow I'll be here at 9 a.m., And I was like, that's Nim saying that. He's going to be here at 9 a.m.
Yeah, he's going to be there.
So I was like, okay, got it all ready. And then got them all packed up just in time at 8:30 in the morning. I remember it was finishing up at 8:30 in the morning. Then I just waited for him to come in. He comes in. He sees them all packed up, lined up. He was like, hell yeah, dude. And super nice, man. He's like, thank you, man. He was so nice that at the end, he was like, you know what, guys? We'll send you a location. Come over tonight for drinks.
Oh, nice.
So we went to his Airbnb and just hung out with him. It's so hard to talk to someone like that, man, because it's like, what do you ask them? You kind of like
right. You don't want to be too forward and fangirl.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to be too casual because they're definitely like the elite of the elite. So you want to learn some stuff.
Yeah, man. And it's like, what do you ask the guy who probably gets asked all these questions all the time?
Right.
Everywhere he goes, like, hey, like, how the hell are you able to do this? But it's like, the way that I just took it, I was just kind of like in the moment, man. I was just grateful to be in his presence and just telling him like, hey, I'm the type of person that it's hard for me. I don't really ask him like, oh, what advice do you have to give me? Because I kind of I'm a self-motivated person, so I kind of always know what the answer is.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, man.
Comes naturally. That's great.
Just
That's awesome.
keep doing something cool. Never give up. And always keep pushing through. His message is very straightforward. Nothing is impossible, so don't ever.
Nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
I love that, by the way. That's so good.
So that's I didn't really have too much to talk about with him. I talked to him about my life, about how I grew up, and he was more interested in that. He was interested in how I was brought up in Guatemala, and I was raised without my parents, having to cross the border at 11 years old. Wow. That's something that he was interested more on. And I just, for me, questions to him, I didn't really have any. I was just like, I knew who he was. I was like, bro, you're the man. I'm just here in your presence, dude. Like, thank you for having us and having drinks with him. So super nice, man. I've met Sean McCormack, who's like the number one, the first sponsor athlete by Red Bull in skydiving.
Oh, cool.
He invented sky surfing.
Cool.
I don't know. I don't think he invented the sky surfing, but he invented the invisible man, and that means where it was in the 90s. Like he would spin so fast on his snowboard, but it's like for sky surfing,
Right.
but it's like supposed to snowboard. He would spin so fast that the camera would literally like lose him, like as he's spinning. So he would be considered an
So the
invisible
camera
man.
would be on him, but he'd be spinning so fast that the camera couldn't process.
And that was
Oh
back
my
in
gosh.
probably early 2000s when the cameras weren't that great yet.
Oh, so it's like when you take a video of like a helicopter blade and
Yeah.
it's spinning and it's
Yeah.
going so fast that you can't even see it.
Yeah, and so that's
that
what he
makes
was doing, and I've met him plenty of times, and I didn't never get as starstruck as I did with Nims. Like
Wow.
you know, like Nims was super nice, super like, hey, welcoming to you. Like I even did a jump with him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we got to jump together. He's always tell people he's the one, because he was wearing a Red Bull helmet and all, but he's not a shredder. He's not like this crazy skydiver.
Right.
He's not like this, like shredding in the sky, but he's just jumping for fun.
Just casually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's the one Red Bull athlete I can actually keep up with, for sure.
Well,
yeah, brother.
dude, again, this was awesome. We gotta have you on again at some point. I know.
Will do, man.
Yeah, there's so much we didn't talk about because, like I said,
Yeah.
like you just said, I would have loved to cover more about your life and stuff, but we just dove into skydiving so deep that
man.
it didn't happen. But let's do it again in the future and
Make
we'll
it
talk
better.
about some more stuff.
Yeah, brother.
No, this was great.
Nah,
There's
man.
no need to make it better.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming on the
Dude.
show.
This is amazing, man. Anybody who comes in this podcast, man, it's gonna test their comfort zone. Especially if they don't do this often. I mean, in a way, I got so comfortable being on this that I kind of, I feel okay. But you forget we're on a fucking 80 feet off the ground, and we're just like hanging out like it's nobody's business. So
I know, yeah, and there's actually, it's funny. There's people out like just kind of they'll come out on the cliff because it's kind of a tourist area, and they look out at us, and we literally have a whole dinner table out here. It's kind of hilarious, but
Dude, this is awesome. Great idea. I think it'll fucking sell.
we're gonna
man.
keep going with it, and we'll
Let's
see.
go.
But all right, we're gonna wrap this one up, and we're gonna get off this line and let's get some highlining done.
Let's do it, brother.
Let's do what we came here to do. Yeah, man. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, my man.